You're listening to a Prairie Punk House Companion right here on the Prairie Punk Press Network. The views expressed by any host or any guest on the Prairie Punk House Companion are the personal views or opinions of the people who express them and do not reflect the views or opinions of anyone else on the show or any company, employer, or any other organization that the individual expressing them has or will affiliate with in the past, present, or future. Hi, everybody. You're listening to a Prairie Punk House Companion. We are now on episode 32. My name is Neckbone.
Hi, I'm Jerbear, and I've been doing things since 6:30 this morning, and it's 10 o'clock now at night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I have a lot of caffeine in me, though.
Yeah.
This is a giant cup of iced coffee from Quick Trip.
Yeah. Nice. Are they giving us money?
No. That's why I hid the logo. I really missed Quick Trip when we lived in Kansas City.
They have them up there now. They've migrated.
They do.
Up there. Yeah.
Well, they only had one when we lived there, and it was on State Line and 39th? No,
there's Rainbow and 43rd.
Okay, 43rd. Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. It's only been 20 years since I was up there, so
it was right down the street from the Rainbow Dungeon of Rock because I used to walk down there to buy cigarettes when I still smoked. So
nice.
Yeah, from the Rainbow House.
Yeah. Well, tonight we have our friend Matt. He is from Wichita. And he's been in a shit ton of bands. Really, really, really integral to the early 2000s music scene, local music scene. Ricky Fitz. Powerlifter. He's currently in Milkwave. What else? I mean, much. You were in Wybat for a while.
Yeah, I was gonna say we kind of had a weird cross-pollination thing because Wybat and Spirit of the Stairs kind of amalgamated into one thing, and both of us left around the same time, didn't we? Which is also kind of funny.
I left Spirit of the Stairs in 2008, so the I was only in coalescence of Wybat and Spirit of the Stairs happened in 2007 because it was right after my kid was born. Yeah. And Denver Fest is the first time we actually started doing it as a proper band. And then I quit shortly after that.
Yeah, and I quit shortly before that.
Right, because Josh was playing bass in Wybat and it kind of...
That was that mid 2000s time was a crazy time for specifically Wichita.
It was really
but
weird.
Even more than Wichita, Denver was really part of our lives, and Iowa, Kansas City, Nebraska.
Yeah.
There was this weird network that just linked up for 5-6 years. That was just every couple months another band was coming through, another group of people had to stay the night or whatever it was, trading shows. It was really, really a nice network at that time.
Well, and Chicago too, because Matt Arbogast was coming down a lot, and Mustangs were coming over all the time, and you were going out there a lot. You guys toured a lot more.
We linked up Mustangs and Gunshy.
Okay, cool.
We were the little catalyst for that whole link up, which is wonderful. I don't know, man. It just felt like everybody in this chunk of the Midwest was doing something that we didn't care what was happening on either coast. It was
right.
Screw all out that stuff. We're doing our own thing, and it felt like really magic. And it wasn't.
It really did.
Yeah, it wasn't until 5-6 years later that I realized what we had, and I didn't fully acknowledge at the time how important it was to me. It was just of course this is happening. We're working hard. Of course this is going to happen. There's going to be bands come through all the time.
Right.
Not realizing we had DIY spots that just don't exist now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and the music itself was, I feel pretty unique and really organic. I mean, it's sprung up organically out of nowhere. And there was like, you guys were kind of math rocky, screamo. We were doing the post rock thing. There was like 4 other post rock bands that were all instrumental. Yeah. And then like, Paper Airplanes were doing like I don't know, like
indie
emo thing.
like
Not really emo, but like,
yeah,
like
pop,
cute pop rock,
yeah,
indie stuff. I don't know. They were really great. None of those words I mean in a bad way at all. They were
no, they're
super delightful. Like a Beach Boys inspired indie rock band from the Midwest or something.
Well, we've made it really clear on the show before that even though, we are a punk focused show, we're not exclusive to any kind of hard line of like, no, punk is this. We're not punk rock fundamentalists or anything like that. So,
even an indie scene that's completely DIY is still pretty punk rock to me because the ethos is there. It's not just about spiking your hair and playing loud and fast and dumb. It's the DIY ethic that goes along with it, and
that
comes from the punk rock scene.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I always enjoyed spiking my hair and playing loud and dumb and fun, but it doesn't have to be exclusively that all the time. That gets old after every single band does that and nothing else for years on end.
I had a weird thing that happened to me where I really got into punk because of like skateboarding. And so that was like a very specific kind of punk, that kind of like SoCal,
Epitaph, Fat Rat Punk,
exactly that. And so like I kind of delve into it head first and then grew out of it pretty quickly, finding it a little bit monotonous and redundant. And then it wasn't until a couple years into being in bands and stuff did I hear people that I really respected that I didn't think even cared about punk be like, hey, check your punk rock. I'm more punk than you on like things like that. And I was like, oh, weird. Are we still doing punk? Is that what we're doing? Because I thought we were like dipping into new territories and like, I still embrace the term post-punk. I love it. I think it's perfect because it is what I feel like I am. Like all the ethos of punk rock, but like I'm not fitting into the box specifically. Well, I guess that's arguable, but we don't. But I love the whole approach of it is supposed to be a rebellious act. It's supposed to be challenging. It's supposed to elevate society through challenge, not bring it down and be a bummer. And that's the thing that always kept me being like, I am that kind of punk. I do want disruption for the service of betterment.
Yeah, for sure. Well, to me, that's why the whole conservative punk idea doesn't hold up because like it's not challenging authority in the way they think it is. It's capitulating to power structures, and rather than fighting power structures.
It's literally like backing up an idea rather than rebelling against one. It's unifying the box that you're putting yourself in even more concretely by enforcing it and policing it. So like if you want to be a cop in punk, you can be, and you're going to have your weird casualties makeup doing your whole thing. Or I mean, not these bands that like fit the uniform and play three chord songs, and some people need that. That's like introduction to punk rock 101, whatever. There should be that for people. Like, okay, I'm getting off track slightly, but like I want to specifically say like the two of the biggest punk things that I remember happening to me was Green Day. No shit. The first first label I was signed to, In It Records, the owner of it, Stephen Williams, is one of the biggest Green Day fans I've ever met in my life. So like even the punkest stuff I've ever done still has Green Day as part of the base,
for sure.
The other one was when I saw your band Uncle Scam open up for Derailer, Free Verse, and someone else at Borderline Skate Park.
And
there was
Torn's band played too.
Okay. But there was this dude there that had zines and 7 inches and all that. And like, I think I got a year's worth of literature and stuff from that one show. And that was like the big, I got like, I can't even remember some of the stuff. Mr. Bishop's Fist, Derailer, all these weird, obscure, you're not going to find them on Epitaph punk rock sampler. It's like weird niche things. And it like really like shook it up for me because they weren't all just like, punk rock. I don't like my mom and my girlfriend. It was a lot more like, God, one band was like really like anti-cigarettes. That was like their whole thing. And I loved it. It was so extreme. I was like, do you guys only do that? That's cool.
I mean, it was the 90s. So that was a thing for sure. I mean,
but do you remember that show specifically at all?
Oh, of course. Yeah. That's one of my favorite shows that we ever played. Derailer, I'm friends with those guys.
Were they Oklahoma?
No, they're from Lawrence.
Oh, okay.
So the bass player actually wound up being my roommate in Kansas City for a while.
Killer.
The guitar player / singer with the really long dreads was like a big brother to me, kind of. Fucking love that dude. And just great dudes. Alan, the drummer, was like I don't know, like semi-professional skateboarder. He got some money and some endorsements, if I remember right. And Bill, the singer, is just the biggest sweetheart. And BJ was the bass player who lived with Nick and I for a while. I guess maybe he didn't live there when you lived there, but he was always around.
Unofficially, he crashed there all the time. So,
And funny story at Borderline also. Do you remember? You know Alex from Hearts and Bondage?
Of course, yeah.
Okay, so he was from Oklahoma, and one of his buddies' bands, Black Dahlia, came up from Oklahoma and played there. And he used to be in that band. And when we lived in Lawrence, Alex moved up there from Oklahoma, and he was at that show when we played with Black Dahlia. It's just this really weird small world. Good times. Borderland was so fun.
Borderline.
We're playing too
it's okay. Games. It's late.
It is.
Johnny, be on the ready to correct us throughout the entire episode.
Yeah.
Okay. Well.
So how did you get into independent and punk adjacent music, and what brought you to it and what kept you here?
I think it could boil it down to like a very specific time of my life. I was kind of like a normcore kid, pretty athletic. I was really into skateboarding. I got in a pretty bad accident where I was in a wheelchair, and my mom, who is a lesbian, moved back from California, and everyone in Hayesville, Kansas found out I had a lesbian mom, and I was a fucking queer now, out of nowhere. And I didn't know what that meant. It didn't really bother me until like, it became an issue of like harassment and stuff.
Yeah.
And then having to talk to my mom about it, and her just being like, if you want to be weird, you can be weird. If you want to fit in, you can fit in. And fitting in with people I didn't have any respect for didn't really seem like an option. So I started kind of just exploring the idea of being queer in middle school, and not in any way sexual, nothing like that, just like being not them anymore. And it felt really liberating. It felt like crazy to me, and that immediately got me into like the skateboard culture. And that, in a weird way, was like building your own boards, weird little nuances that like really sparked like something for me of being like, I'm going to hang out with these people that like have different ideas, and they're not going to like I don't know, adhere to like these things that were bumming me out about the world.
Mm-hmm.
And so like that's step one. And then of course they're all listening to the at the time it was like Beastie Boys and probably like Megadeth, and occasionally you might get like a punk band, get a punk band, you know.
Yeah.
but the energy was there. The idea behind this thing, the Shredder and his foot soldiers having that perfect thing, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, it was like that came into real life. And my mom saw the spark, and for whatever reason, she had a coffee shop here in town called Liberty Cafe. It was a gay and lesbian coffee shop, and then they had Pansy Division come play.
Oh, nice!
Oh, awesome!
And at the time, no one was really there, and they did an acoustic set, so like it was kind of a bummer to some of the crowd, I'm sure. But like, even to me, I think I was like 11, maybe 12, and I was just like, this is incredible. This is like exactly what the kind of thing I'm looking for. And so like the queer punk, build your own skateboard, they're all this like weird stuff that's culminating right there. That's really like the magic spot of what made it. Then you know, I listened to things like the Deftones and ABBA and Sade and everything I can listen to, and trying to find something that like uniformly fits, never really finding the thing. Meet some of my best friends like Cody Ramsey, Dan Davis at the time, and we just had this thing, giving each other bands we're digging. And it just happened at the time that Dan's brother Matt Davis had his band 10 Grand, and as we were jamming, I got sparked into that world, which was the most pure form of DIY punk rock, into the vein of it that I could have ever asked for. And those dudes were amazing, and they liked our band, and they let us play with them, and we played shows in other cities because of them. And I think that's the core of it. It's the wanting to be different, wanting to build things on my own, and then getting this weird spark of beauty of a group that's doing it a completely different way, asking you to join their fun.
So I know Cody grew up in Hayesville and went to campus. Did everybody else in Ricky Fitz also?
No.
Okay.
Casey was a homeschool kid.
Okay, I did not know that. How about that?
Dan went to Midwest, or what is it? Magnet.
Northeast.
Northeast.
Yeah.
Northeast Magnet. Okay, that tracks.
Yeah.
I worked with his sister at Urban Outfitters, and his brother,
Joanna.
Yeah. And his brother came down all the time to Lawrence. So I mean, they were always around.
He was a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah.
He was like,
he was wild.
His punk rock like thing was on his sleeve at all times.
Oh, for sure.
Never dipping out. It was wild.
For real. And they were Vita Blue when I was hanging out with them before they got sued by the guy from Fish.
No. Didn't get sued.
Oh, they didn't get. They got a payout. They paid them 10 grand to change their name. And that's why they're 10 grand. There was a threat of a lot. That's how I heard it anyway. Maybe it wasn't a threat. Maybe they were just like,
I think. Go for it.
Can you say a little more? Because I know you mentioned it briefly in our punk movie review episode, a band called Death. But for people who don't listen to that one, can you give a little more detail on that? Because that is a very interesting story.
Yeah. So Matt Davis and a bunch of dudes from Iowa City, right? Had a band called Vita Blue, named after the baseball player who pitched like a no-hitter on acid or some shit. So their band name was Vita Blue, and one of the dudes from Fish, I don't remember which one because I fucking hate Fish.
I couldn't name you.
The main singer. It's the main singer guy. Yeah.
He had a side project called Vita Blue also, and found out about them, and through some means he wound up. paying them money to change their name, and he gave them 10 grand, so they changed their name to 10 grand because they thought it was hilarious.
Yeah.
Well,
Fair
the Vita Blue had just signed to Southern Records.
Oh.
And so
no shit?
he started his band right after they signed, and they had just pressed the record. What's it called? Comprehensive list of anyone who's ever done anything wrong to us, whatever, that record.
Yeah.
So
I didn't know they were on fucking Southern, man. That's wild.
Yeah, yeah. And so they made that record and put it out, and then had to redact all of them.
Oh,
and change the name on them. So that was like part of the 10 grand was just a justification to smear the name, get rid of those, pull them back off the shelf.
Yeah.
And instead they just slapped stickers over them and kept going.
Nice. Yeah,
that's crazy.
Well, they're great. They're a fucking phenomenal band. So fun.
They were a live band though. That's the big thing.
Yeah.
If you saw them live, they would change your life. If you listen to their record, you might go, I don't know what you're showing me. Because it doesn't completely translate all the time. They have songs that do translate, but I've tried so hard so many times to like share the gospel of 10 grand, and people usually just go, I don't know what you're showing me, man. I'm like, yeah, it's fair. It's fair.
Yeah.
It hits different in person.
And Matt died of a aneurysm, right?
Heart murmur.
Okay. I can remember so many of my friends died around that time with weird, like, failings of their body, not from like addictions or anything like that, but just like weird failures. And he was one of them. Dude. Yeah. He was
completely straight edge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so that's the weirdest part is they had just come back from a European tour, getting ready to like do the next, right in the next batch. He just shaved off all his dreads, started a band with Cody and Dan called You Touch Us, You Die, was really like living hard, like looking good, feeling good. His girlfriend Molly was like talking about how they are, might look at rings or whatever, they're doing that kind of like, we're living the big life stuff, and out of nowhere, he's just gone. It was wild.
That happened to our friend Stewie and our friend Nathan. Did you know Nathan Gilson?
I don't think so.
Okay. He used to put on him and Stewie both put on a lot of shows in Wichita in the mid 90s, and then I think by the late 90s they kind of had stopped doing shows as much, but great dudes. They're the ones that brought the Get Up Kids to the Eaton. In 96, I think. Nathan brought a bunch of ska shows to town as well.
MU330.
Way back. Yeah. Well, him. Well, I think that was Alex, but Nathan brought some other bands too.
I just feel like every ska show had MU330 somehow.
Yeah, well, they were so close. So
but I just had like no interest in ska when I was in high school. But everybody else that had like-minded ideas was like, "This is a killer show. You're going," and I would go. I'd be like, this.
That's all there was. If you wanted to see punk rockers or punk adjacent
in the 90s, ska shows is where it's at.
Yeah, that's how I met all my punk rock friends, because my high school friends didn't really care about going to shows. So I started going to shows by myself, and that's how I met the Fannings. That's how I met Justin. It's how I met Nick. It's how I met everybody, basically. And just going to shows by myself and meeting people. I
unfortunately met most of the people that like really impacted my life at the mall.
Oh yeah.
Like,
do
you remember when we had the skate shop?
Yeah.
Remember when we had the skate shop? So there was like
that was Kelly, right?
Yeah. Aces and Eights.
Yeah.
And then there was like Hot Topic. There was Third Planet, and then there was like, well, I don't know, another one. And there it happened to be this like Melrose Place of the mall thing happened, where like everybody was getting their friends jobs, so it was just like after high school scenario of like new networks of like Kevin Wares and Everyone's Grill telling you how you have to go see his band and stuff like that. And so like you just had that thing happening. I met Dan there. I met my wife there. I met my ex-girlfriend there. I met like the mall was it was like Twitter. now.
Okay.
Like
Yeah,
that's
sure.
just where there would be a flyer or that someone knew the punk that knew the house show usually, and that's just like the way things worked.
Yeah.
The
Well,
mall is not that now.
no, I mean, I discovered punk through Oren Gray, formerly Jay Gray, and he discovered it from walking around Town East Mall.
Yeah, the
Like,
mall.
I mean, that's kind of what happened. I was into Green Day, and my buddy, we walked into one of the music stores, probably Camelot, and
Camelot, yeah.
they had the first Epitaph sampler like right out in the open, and he was like, "Here, listen to this," and because I was like into Green Day at that point, and yeah, and he was like, "Here, listen to this," and I was like, "Holy shit!" It had Bad Religion on it. It was the first time I heard NoFX, first time I heard Rancid, and I mean that was it. At that point, I was like, "This is my shit," and so I was an Epitaph punk for like 8 months probably before I met Justin.
It's a good entry point. It's a good entry point into punk.
Yeah,
yeah.
for
If
sure.
you're unfamiliar, yeah.
And he was like, I was alone at a ska show, and he showed up and he had a mohawk too. I was like, "Hey, nice mohawk," and he's like, "Hey, nice mohawk," and then we just became friends. And he introduced me to Crass and Conflict and Dirt, the Subhumans, all that shit. And that's how I got
All the
into
UK bands, basically.
yeah. And that's how I got into like crusty shit, because that's kind of what he was into. His older stepbrother, Ty, was a punk rocker and got him into all of that. And we all know Ty, who just will randomly show up and be Ty. I don't know if you ever met him, Matt, but he's a squatter. He travels around the country. He'll come back to Wichita for 6 months at a time and work
Sometimes
at, like,
Lawrence, randomly.
the public. Last time he was here, he was working at the Brickyard for a while, and he'll stay here for a bit, and then he'll go off to fucking San Francisco or Minneapolis or wherever, and he'll hop trains, hitchhike, whatever. And,
that's cool.
So you had a story one time about seeing us at Borderline and Torrin's band, and if I remember right, we kind of blew you off or something, and Torn was like really receptive to your questions, so you got more into like Torrin's band and like the more hardcore side of punk rock than maybe the crustier, spikier side, because he was nicer to you than we were.
Yeah, I don't know the story specifically that you're referring to, but I do remember at that show, you guys were like in your box. Like all of you were wearing black, all of you had dreads, all of you had spikes on your belts jackets and everything like that. It was very much like this is the way we punk. Hitman Union was like,
they were a bunch of nerds.
Yeah, they were like, these guys are the ones that are disrupting the system. But like, I believe it, and I saw myself in that more, I guess. But also, like, I had 2 or 3 people from my high school that were into your band.
Oh, for real?
Twee is the one I can remember specifically.
Oh, I remember Twee. Yeah,
and,
whatever happened to her?
She's still around.
Okay. She used to come over to Kansas Street and party.
I remember her. Yeah.
She does like vegan punk rock nights and stuff every once in a while. And so like there's still cross pollination with some of the people I know in her. But like I didn't, identify so much with them. I didn't sit at their table at lunch. You know what I mean? Yeah. And the people that gravitated more towards the Hitman Union kind of angrier, more, I don't know, that's almost more metal kind of vibe, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would say so, but I wasn't like throwing a dig at you or anything. I just thought it was a funny story because, like, I imagine that we probably looked fairly unapproachable, and we were also way more fucked up than the dudes in Hitman Union were. Like, we were blacked out and shit all the time. So, like, I would not blame a high school kid for not wanting to come talk to us or whatever. So I just thought it was funny how things, like, turn out. So yeah. I forgot that Twee went to campus. That's fucking crazy.
Yeah. Smallest world in the world.
Yeah.
Also, I think it's kind of weird thinking back and like punk rock wise, like the bands in town that really like held that card. At one point, it was like the bands that don't exist at all, and the guys, I don't believe any of them are in bands, like TV Crime Fighters. Like these. Do you remember that band at all?
No, I don't.
Crime Fighters.
When was that? Because I was gone by 99.
98, 99, 2000. That little
was
3 year
right when you were gone, right when we were both gone, actually.
Yeah.
But I mean, these were like Phil was still like everywhere. Yeah. Nowhere Fast.
Yeah.
Last Ride Out.
Okay, yeah.
A lot of those bands, but like they're the ones that were like seemingly at every show were like I going blank now. There were a handful, and there was like not, in my opinion, what I thought punk was supposed to be. I was like, I wanted like the drums to just be like 1,000 miles an hour. You remember Vizzo, the German punk band that was on?
Yeah.
It was like just or AFI in the early days, just like. Like, wow, that's what I wanted punk to be. And so like if I saw bands that were just more like hey girl, do you want to go to the punk rock show? Hey ho, I'd be like, man, boo.
Yeah, for sure.
I wanted it to be hardcore punk.
Yeah.
Like I needed the genres weren't defined in my head, I don't think, at the time, but like there would be like uprisings of like what punk was, and I would just rebel against those. I'd just be like, that's not for me, mate. Like, I'm not gonna do that shit. But I'd still dye my hair green, and I'd still wear a chain wallet, and I'd still carry around a skateboard, even though I know I'm not gonna get to put my feet on that thing all day. Stupid little garbage ideas of my costume I need to do, but like the box wasn't the right one for me. I don't know. It's just funny that those things have come up in the world. Like even like the Istanbulis, I loved them. I fell in love with them way after the fact that after they broke up. But like, when they were like really popping, I was like, fuck these guys. Not into it. I don't like punk this way. It's such a weird, overly rebellious thing.
I never really got into the Istanbulis, and I don't know why. I might have been too cool for school then, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of how I feel like I was.
And also, like,
that was your attitude.
Me
back in the yeah.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Also, I never really considered Nowhere Fast the punk band. They just seemed like a rock and roll band to me. But I mean, I can
really
see
wanted
the
them
flavor.
To be punk. Kevin was really wanting.
Yeah. I mean, it just seemed rock and roll, and there's nothing wrong with that. I loved Nowhere Fast. I thought they were fucking great. But they're just a rock and roll band. Musically, I mean, attitude, sure. I mean, they're all fucking punks. That's fine. But musically, I was just like, yeah, it's a rock and roll band. Cool. But that probably comes from my snobbery of being an upper crust and having dreads and shit.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about that all the time on the podcast of like, well, are they punk? Are they punk? Nah, I don't think they're punk. I mean,
yeah,
we definitely we do have like a certain style of snobbery. We're friendlier snobs than we used to be. We used to be snobs, and now we're like, we still like it, but it's not punk snobs.
Well, like, so there's like a couple people that I still in my mind would put as like punk rock like royalty in my mind.
Okay.
And they do it completely differently than each other. Like still to me, Ame Argoat from Desark is my like favorite DIY punk, like human I want to be more like in the world. They're just presence. It makes me feel like it's bettering everything. And so like, that's a very gay friendly North Carolina, Raleigh kind of vibe of punk. That's like Train Hopper, weirdo, that kind of thing. That's not the same punk as Minneapolis. We read books all day punk. That, like your time signature isn't punk because you're still adhering to there's like, I like both of those quite a bit. The stunning and all of those bands from like the Minneapolis, St. Paul area that really like made me feel like punk is a smarter thing. But then there's also the stupid knuckle dragging part of my brain that loves SoCal, like AFI, just catchy sing along, like old Green Day, like the Smoothed Out Sloppy Hours. That whole EP is just like everything about it is just beautiful. It's like, it's like
when he was like 16 when he wrote that shit too. It's so funny.
But those are not the same ideas of what punk is.
No. Well, I don't think. Have you seen the documentary Turn It Around, the Lookout Records documentary?
Oh yeah. No. I saw the one about Gelman.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same one.
Is it the same one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Billy Joe's basically like, no, we weren't a punk band. Like, we sang about girls, but everybody. I mean, at the time, the Gilman scene was very, very, very political, and they were just singing about girls. But they were friends with all those bands and played there. So they were lumped in there. I mean, I consider them punk still. They're power pop. Maybe more than punk, but just because because they came up in the Berkeley scene, they're a punk band. I mean,
they got more people into punk than any other band I've ever heard.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I mean, rivaling maybe the worst band that claims to be punk ever, which is the Sex Pistols.
Yeah.
The Ramones are better than the Sex Pistols for sure.
Yeah. Well, the Ramones, are very like power pop.
Yeah.
And the Sex Pistols are just a boy band. So
I think that the Ramones are kind of like pre-nostalgia rock. They sound like what Greta Van Fleet or whatever are doing now, like then.
Yeah, from the 50s I don't know, something almost like a dirty doo-wop or something.
Yeah, they're trying to do like bebop, doo-wop stuff, and like it's like completely different. If you think about like what the Minutemen were doing, or even
the
like
MC5, the fucking
the
Stooges,
Gang of Four,
fucking for sure.
Wire.
Who are television?
These bands that were like trying to make it the same fiery energy of rebellion, but trying to make it smarter, not
like Talking Heads.
Yeah, it's like there's a beauty to rebellion if you use your tools correctly and you like let it teach people that there's a better way of doing things. I feel like there's a time in the last 15 years where a weird like like a movie slate like check hit and everybody just like blanked out, or like the Men in Black blank your mind thing, and like people just shut up and started going back to being like, oh yeah, AC/DC is rock and roll. Like, whoa. Didn't we get past this already? Like, wasn't there a Simpsons episode about how like the Sonic Youth were like, hey, you got to move past, Blue Oyster Cult or whatever. Like, and then like we just abandoned this weird blanket of knowledge. And then we went back to a time of just people wearing Molly Hatchet shirts and stuff. Like, I don't fully understand what happened, but I saw
nostalgia. Nostalgia is a powerful thing.
It's that, and then like people grow old of their like the things that are like inspiring to them, and then they just like abandon it for whatever reason. Like, does anybody talk about Savages? Remember 2011 or 12? Savages was like the band from the UK that was like changing punk rock. All or like mostly female women doing this thing. No one talks about that ever. It's wild. Like my band at the time was doing some stuff that I was embarrassed by, like still getting to play with like really cool bands. But I was doing Powerlifter at the time, and I did not feel punk. I'll be honest with you. That did not feel punk to me. I felt pretty embarrassed playing with like real cool punk bands. And I'm just like pretending to be a WWF wrestler, like, this is how you're only going to know me. You're
Yeah.
never gonna know that I'm like
I
a real
like Powerlifter.
punk.
I thought it was a lot of fun.
Was Powerlifter, was that the band that were used like Nintendo
Game Boys.
Yeah,
Game Boys stuff? Yeah.
yeah.
Actually,
yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, I kind of dig it. Like,
Yeah, for sure. I liked
Sure.
it too.
like,
Yeah, a lot of people did. That's the thing of it. Like that resonated more than any earnest, heartfelt music I've ever made, and that was really a bummer because I was literally trying to say like, quit fucking trying to be earnest. Just shut the fuck up. That was my whole thought process with that band, and it resonated with everyone. And I was like, no, don't dumb down. I'm dumbing everyone down. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's fun. Like, yeah, serious music is great, but you don't have to listen to serious music all the time. Sometimes you just want to have fun.
That's what I'm wrestling with currently with like writing and new forms of things is like, I miss fun. I do miss when like the scene used to feel funny. Like you'd go to the show and you'd heckle a band and they'd heckle you back and they'd cut you up. They just make you feel like, oh man, I don't even know what I can say now. And it was so much fun. I feel like shows are so stagnant and like weird now. Like there's no humor. Anytime I try to like bust a joke, people look at me and they're like, in this climate? Oh man. All right. Well, and it's usually not too off base or weird, but like, I just feel like humor needs to come back. And there's a balance to be had, right? With like good music that's also like fun and makes you feel like doing something. I feel like it's out there. That's what I'm chasing right now.
Yeah,
because it's easy to make dumb, easy to love music, and it's easy to make heartfelt, serious music that no one will ever listen to.
Right. Yeah,
but finding that
happy medium. Yeah. Well, I mean, Milkwave seems to be doing pretty good.
Yeah. When we just finished recording some new stuff that I think is kind of more punk than anything we've done in a while.
Nice.
It's moving more and more punk, which is weird.
Nice. I'm trying to get something started, so there might be some D-Beat and Crest coming back to Wichita.
That's cool.
We'll see.
Nice. Are you gonna
trying to decide names right now?
Nice Pope.
Nice Pope.
Nice.
Cool
Isn't that the term
cool
you said?
Pope. No,
what's
Cool
that?
Pope.
Cool Pope, not Nice Pope. Cool Pope. Okay.
Yeah, the Pope. Yeah. That Pope that just died. He sure was cool.
Cool Pope, bro.
Yeah, cool Pope, man. So let's talk about the Eagles Lodge for a little bit, because that's kind of became a staple of early 2000s Wichita music scene, and I don't really know how it became that way, but Ricky Fitz seemed to me the catalyst for a lot of that shit going on at the time. So do you have a story on how the Eagles Lodge came to be what it was, and the local DIY scene around 2000 to 2010 probably? At the latest?
Eight or nine.
Yeah.
Eric Westbrook booked a show there, and we went to the show, the whole band. We didn't play the show, and then the
what
guy,
show was it?
I do not remember.
Okay.
But at the time, Dan was really pushing to like, there was like a hot rod shop, Eternal Speed and Iron. There's like a few spots that
Barley
were like,
Corns.
Well, I'm talking about letting us do all ages DIY shows.
Lee Shiny.
So, there was like Buster Brown, Lee Shiny. There was like very limited spots. And then he found this one that just so happened to have that separation where they got to have a bar on one side and the all ages show on the other side.
Yeah.
And so they
made a huge difference.
It was a huge difference. So we booked a couple shows there with Ricky Fitz, and Dan made enough money to not only, pay whatever, the bar made money. And so they were just like, whatever you want, you can book shows here. And it just happened to be right after Matt Davis had died. And so all of his buddies' bands were like, hey, little Matt's brother Dan, my band wants to come through. Can you hook us up with a show? So of course we're going to play. Of course it's going to be at the Eagles Lodge. And then we can pad it with whatever friends we want to try to get from Lawrence or whatever. It was usually like Valara, Volant. There's like a certain bands that we just like, please come here. We saw you play with other bands. We want to play with you. But it's just a tight little thing happened. And then like somehow the bar really like became the spot for some people because it was like cheap and all that. But the other side was like the magic. That's where like we got to keep it all ages. Yeah. And so like if you were 18, or actually we didn't really card, so you could be any age, but like you could hang out and watch the show, and people were like not being cops yet, but like learning how to police and understand how to like, hey, no smoking inside, bud. You got to go out. And like no real fights, no real animosity, and that was like kind of the big magic part. And also, this is when the internet was in its prime, glorious place of like, it wasn't just filled with garbage. It was like you felt like if someone hit you up on MySpace, you probably could like talk to their mom if you needed to. So they're just network of certain bands sowed little seeds and it bloomed into magic. I don't know. There was also like Ulick was renting PAs for $50.
No shit.
So you could get the Eagles Lodge for 50 and you could get the PA for 50. And if you cleaned up, which Cody and I would always stay off, you got your $50 back.
Right.
And so like you could put on a show for $50. So Bunter, I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
We started Bunter as really just a chicken bucket with $50 in it. So we said, if you do your job, you clean up the venue when you're done, here's $50. That's all you really need to put on a show. And so that was like the thing that we just passed around for like 2 or 3 years to keep DIY shows happening. Like I can't put on a show. Why? You need a startup. The startup is so simple. It's like 4 phone numbers and maybe $100. And if you're cool, there's going to be $100 when I get the chicken bucket back. If there's only 50, I'm not mad. You know, like 50 must stay in there. But like it's the idea, because there were some stinker shows, you know. Or sometimes, a lot of times, someone would blow it and blow one of the PAs up or whatever we were using, smash a microphone or something that would cut into cost. But it was that specific thing of like, the Eagles Lodge is a place to do all ages shows. That also, if you want to drink, it's across the hall. You can do that.
It made such a huge difference for drunks like me, because like I wasn't going to go to a show if I couldn't get loaded. That's just the way it was. Like, I was not going to go to a show if I could not get loaded.
And there were other people that wouldn't go to a show if they were like, well, people were doing stuff in the parking lot, but on the side that there was music playing, it was like a sober space in that little box. It was like, no beer in here, no smoking in here. This is just to be watching music. And that's kind of the magic of it.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist in a lot of places anymore.
Yeah. So were you an Eagle Lodge member? Did you become a Fraternal Order of the Eagle?
I never did it. I
know a handful of people that did.
Yeah.
That's still a thing?
Yeah.
I mean, I thought it was just called the Eagles Lodge because
it was the Fraternal Order of the Eagles.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember who did. I don't think Dan did. I know one of us in the band had to.
I think
I didn't do it.
Cody, but I don't know.
Cody might have
Cody or Casey. I don't remember. Maybe both of them. I don't know.
Yeah.
And there were a handful of people that did join. I thought it was a rule that you had to book it or something, but apparently that's just a rumor.
There might have been at one point, but that definitely went the wayside like towards the end of it. It really became a bummer, because when we started putting on shows there, they weren't relying on us. They were like doing bingo nights, and they had all this crazy stuff that they were doing. And then that became all they did.
Oh,
they
for
they
real.
put all of their money in thinking they were a music venue. They
Uh-huh.
tore the stage out and put a weird, giant, awkward stage, but it still
Yeah,
had the
yeah.
old drum height of the roof,
Hmm.
so it was weird back there. The lighting was bad. Like they
Hmm.
tried to just make it into something that ruined it, and
Oh, for
it
real.
put yeah. I mean, and now if you go past there, it's like a weird quinceanera spot or whatever.
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
it's not a punk rock venue anymore. It's bright
No.
blue, bright blue.
Yeah.
Hmm.
What other venues were there? Was Paraphernalia. I saw you guys play there a couple times. I think I actually played there. The first
Funky
time we
Foot.
played
Funky Foot
ICT
was your
Fest was Paraphernalia.
the
Who
first
who
time.
started ICT Fest? Was that you guys?
That was Dan Davis. Yeah,
Dan, okay.
yeah.
I thought so.
The first time we played with you though was with Form of Rocket
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
at the Funky Foot.
Yeah,
And
for
the
sure.
Funky Foot is my favorite venue that ever
Yeah.
existed in Wichita. That's where we first played with Little Joe Gould, who became Murdered by Death.
Uh-huh.
That's where we first played with Form of Rocket and you guys. There's so many weird, like first time that Scenery, who was
Yeah.
Paper Airplanes prior to Paper Airplanes with Adam.
Right.
Little like magic things
Mhm.
happened at that place. That against me,
Against me, yeah, yeah.
yeah, played with them there.
That Unwed Sailor play there?
Maybe, but I didn't. I didn't play that show, so I don't remember.
Okay. I know we played with them at the Cedar because that was like a post rock night at the Cedar, and Unwed Sailor was there, and there's another band, another post rock band. I don't know, I don't remember who it was. I think Micaiah Ryan's
This Great October?
son.
No, that's I've Got to Fart.
I've got the fart.
That's Micaiah Ryan's son had I've Got to Fart.
But no, it could have been that band then.
What
Maybe
was
one
it,
of his friends' band.
Was it George's band? This Great October?
No, it was an out of town band. So
Oh.
they came up with Unwed Sailor. Fuck, I can't remember.
Kind of like Spitting. They came
No.
here. Oh, okay.
It wasn't them. I don't know. It was I'm not sure. I have to look through my box of touring band CDs because I have it in there. Yeah, the Cedar was fun too.
It was really cool. It's another one of those venues where like they moved or
and
tried
it
to change
fucking killed
something and it
Yeah.
destroys it all
Well,
the vibe.
They had, I mean, it got to the point where they needed to move because every Friday and Saturday night there was an all ages club across the street, and there was like, and it didn't open until 2, so it was like all ages after hours at 2 for some fucking reason. But there was always shootings, and people would fuck with Cedar patrons at 2 when it was time to leave, and it kind of got dangerous. So I mean that's the story I heard from the owners. So it's just like for safety reasons they decided to leave and go to what used to be Canners.
It's like across the street from the tag office or something. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was
I used
on
to work at
21st in
by
Woodlawn.
Menards. Or not Menards, whatever that sandwich
is there a Menards in Wichita now?
Yeah, there's 2.
Jesus. I didn't even realize. I knew there was one in Lawrence, but it's weird. It's from Wisconsin, so it's just weird.
I didn't know there was one in Lawrence. That's crazy.
What do you think? Do you feel like you have completely concrete memory of when you thought you were the punkest in your life?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Probably.
Drop a quick idea. When?
I mean that
and why? And when and why?
That Derailer show, I felt pretty fucking punk rock at.
That was very. I mean, it worked for me too. Yeah.
There was the whole time I lived in Kansas City. I mean, I was drunk all the time. I would go to work drunk. And I don't know, it was just very dirty and crusty time of my life, and it just felt like super punk. I was really poor. I mean, I was throwing bottles at bums who tried to stab my friend.
Yeah.
getting into constant trouble.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, probably I would say still probably around that Derailer show. We played a Food Not Bombs benefit. That was pretty fucking punk rock.
Nice. That's awesome.
You know, we used to have an anti-racist action that met. We were
Very
doing
briefly in Wichita, right?
yeah, and
Yeah.
we were doing some activism, and we put on some protests. That
Mhm.
was pretty punk.
Well, of course, there's also a difference between when did you feel the most punk and when were you actually the most punk?
Right. Yeah, yeah.
Because I definitely felt the most punk when I was probably like 17, 18, and I still had a mohawk. And I was I was still listening to a lot of like that, like California skate punk. Because I was 17.
Screeching Weasel and
That's,
fucking the Vandals.
that's what you
and-
listened to at the time, yeah. Like I felt the most punk at that time. I definitely was not the most punk though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think same. I probably was the most punk when we were living in Kansas City.
I almost hopped a train once and left with a bunch of squatters, but I
Mhm.
didn't, so I didn't actually feel very punk then. I felt kind of like a poser.
I did
I believe it was called an oogle.
I did one train ride that was less than an hour long. That was
Oh yeah.
terrifying because all they kept talking about was how they're going to knock your teeth out if they stop. So if they stop, like grab your shit and run. And so I was just terrified. And it was in Arkansas, in between Little Rock and I can't remember where. We left Little Rock. I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go hardcore punk. And I maybe was 2 hours in, and I was like, I'm worried I'm going to lose my glasses. This isn't working for me, man.
Yeah, that's not very punk. Yeah,
I was worried I was gonna get addicted to heroin.
Oh.
Yeah,
that's what kept me off the trains, really, because I was like, if I do this, there's no coming back. I'm gonna fucking do heroin, and then it'll be over.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I never hopped a train, and I never did heroin.
Yep.
Good.
Yeah. Nor I for either. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was never tempted to do heroin though. It never appealed to me.
It was never around, but if it had been, I probably would have tried it.
Yeah. I don't do that. I never did the needle stuff. Nothing with needles. Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't appeal to me.
I was always scared of diseases.
My group of friends was always kind of like not straight edge by any means, but like kind of on this weird, very particular blanket of I don't care if you smoke weed, I don't care if you drink, but if I see pills or powder, you're fucking out of here. Like, and I don't know where that came from or why we had that mentality, but it was pretty, that's kind of like towards the end of Ricky Fitz, like became a problem because like, that's how Cody and I just like, we're ingrained in that idea of like, there's okay drugs and there's sketchy drugs. If you touch sketchy drugs, I don't even want to associate with you. Like,
I mean, towards the end of Ricky Fitz is really when like pills got really scary. I mean, that's when I mean there were like no regulations on getting prescription pills.
ODs
and doctors
all over
were
the
handing
place.
it out like candy.
Yeah.
And like a ton of people were addicted around that time. Like a ton of
people
really good people.
People at parties would just say things like, "Do you want a line?" And you'd be like, "Hell yeah!" And you'd be like, "A line of what?"
Right.
Like, no one was asking that. And it'd be
I didn't care at the time. I mean, I would.
People are just crushing up pills. Like, what pills are those? Like, don't worry about it. Like,
fuck it. You'll figure it out on the back end. Don't worry about it.
Not for me, man.
I would go to a party and just ask for drugs. I didn't care what they were. I just wanted
drugs.
to do some. Like, you got any drugs? I will.
That's like a '80s Dare commercial.
Yeah.
Where's the drugs?
But I mean, I meant it at the time. I would fucking do whatever. And that was a rough time. And I was struggling pretty bad with mental health and addiction I would say between like 03 and 05 when I finally stopped doing like whatever I could get my hands on. I mean, I was doing plenty of shit before then, but like early 03 to like early 05, I was like, gimme.
Yeah, we're on the other end of it. I don't think either of us ever expected to be.
No.
Yeah, that's one thing we used to joke kind of on tour whenever we were like, kind of really going hard, and Cody would be like, ho, 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 "I'm never going to become 50," and we'd be like, "Yeah, because we're fucking going hard." Huh? And then
Yeah.
like when he died at 41 or 40,
Mm-hmm.
it's just like that joke isn't as funny anymore.
Right.
Like
Yeah,
Right.
it's and we've had a rough couple of years, man. I mean, I don't know about you, who else you've lost besides Cody. Cody was a really hard one to lose. I know a lot
Yeah.
harder for you. You've known him a lot longer and we're way closer than I was, but that was fucking tough, man. And I lost three people during COVID.
Yeah.
Right before Cody
Jason.
died,
Yeah.
Jason Bokelman died.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, it's not fucking easy.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean,
yeah.
and it's weird. You mentioned that, we lost people who just a part of their body just stopped working for no reason, but for whatever reason, like this in this lifestyle, people, whether it's drugs, whether it's something violent, whether it's an accident, or whether something in their body just stops working, like people die young in
Hmm.
in the scene, whatever you want to call the scene, whether you want to call it punk or DIY, whatever. Like it's just it takes people young for the most part, or seems to.
Yeah.
or you're like Mike Watt and you're just still going.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or fucking Iggy Pop. Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
Jesus God. Yeah.
I still think there's brilliance out there. Like I was saying, I saw Mike Watt last night, and like it was bittersweet for me. It was like really
Hmm.
magical because he was still just going for it. And when you saw him like really like locking in, and you saw him smile, his whole face smiles, and it
Hmm.
Hmm.
makes the crowd smile. But then I
Yeah.
also saw the parts of him like struggling, and
Yeah.
that it's hard to see that, but like you need to
Hmm.
see that. That's part of
Yeah,
it. The
for
part of this
sure.
whole thing is like it's not always like the MTV video and you're
Hmm.
doing all the smashing cool stuff. Like part of this whole experience is like the ebbs and flows. All of the emotions are supposed to be felt, and like
Yeah.
Hmm.
that's a thing that comes with age, I think, of like really understanding that and like being comfortable with some of them, because like grief is one hell of a emotion to deal with,
Yeah.
and everyone
Yeah.
deals with grief differently. And like,
Yeah.
well, I mean, since 2000, that's only 5 years. I think that there's been like 8 or 9 deaths, but mostly suicides in
Yeah.
my
There's been a
group
lot
of
of those.
friends.
Uh-huh.
And like at a certain point, I have to protect myself and say, I cannot go to any more suicide funerals. I can't do it.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
like, it's
Yeah.
too hard on me mentally, because like, I don't want to say like, yeah, this world is a place that sucks dick and we should give up, because
Right.
I don't want to lock my mind in that. I don't.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel that way, of
Mhm.
course, but I'm
Yeah. I mean,
trying.
everybody has intrusive thoughts, I think.
But going back to
But
like what I like about the art punk thing is like it's supposed to lift you up. You're supposed to
yeah.
see how stupid it is and laugh at it and say, now I'm going to make things better because
Mhm.
I see the absurdity. And like,
Mhm.
there needs to be more of that kind of allowing you to feel your feelings and accept the hilarious nature of how really stupid everything is.
Yeah.
That it can make you like start making other people laugh again and
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
smile. Like it's important to say, like there should not be war.
Right.
There just should not be war. We should not
Yeah.
be putting our tax money into killing children. But it's also,
Right.
I can't talk about that every time I see you, where you're just
Right.
not going to want to hang out with me. Like
Mhm.
we need to be able to laugh about it and be like, of course, we're on the same page with our opinions, but we
Mhm.
do not need to be constantly putting ourselves in the most horrible fight or flight mental space,
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. I think that's important to remember too, because it's easy to get into a doom spiral like that and be black pilled. Um, you
Especially
know,
now. Yeah.
yeah. Um, and I mean, even in politics, there's a lot of absurdity to fucking point and laugh at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, you know, and not just be a doomer about it. And keeping that levity, I think is is good for our mental health because it's easy to forget that there's still joy in the world and there's still a lot to be happy about.
Right. I feel like when I was talking to you guys about when you felt like you were the most punk. I was trying to set myself up to say something, and I didn't even chip in my point of view. I feel like the most punk I've ever felt was when I had got a lot of money out of a settlement, and I had no financial worries or woes. So all of my intent was about things I was passionate about. And I bought a short bus. I bought like certain equipment for every member of my band. And I said, we all have this much money. We're going to live in the van. And we didn't care about rent and insurance and all these things because I paid all that. And so I was able to just like focus on, we need to change the world and do that. The most punk I've ever been was when I just was financially stable. And I could put my mind at ease and think about bettering the world. The least punk I think I've ever been is when I steal stuff from the grocery store because I'm hungry and I'm doing real punk rock shit. I'm smoking cigarette butts that I pinch off into a pipe, snipe tobacco shit. That's disgusting, but that's like sometimes on paper more punk, but that to me is the lowest form of punk. Like that's not who I want to be. I want to be
that's like the romantic punk, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like the struggle, the romanticized struggle, that is associated
starving
with punk,
artist.
you know, the gutter punk, you know, the drinking leftover beer from the night before to get rid of the shakes for your day.
Right. And generally people do that out of desperation or necessity, depending on what it is. And it's not, you know, on the one hand, you know, you do what you have to do to survive. And if that means taking, you know, a loaf of bread from a big box grocery store, then do it. Yeah. Like I would never advocate for breaking the law, but sorry, I have to legally say that. But
allegedly.
You know what our go-to was? Our go-to is just to go grab a sandwich and then take it to the bathroom and eat it in the bathroom.
Oh, yeah.
You're not like, you don't feel like you're doing anything wrong. You're not stealing from them. You're just like consuming.
You're not walking out the door,
not giving them any monetary value.
And the evidence is in your stomach.
Yeah. So right. What are they going to
do about that?
Yeah. Or specifically, we'd go to Walmart and we'd get the chicken strips, and then we'd eat them while walking around Walmart, and then go back to the van and drive to the next. That was a go-to.
Didn't Dan work at what was the health food store on Central?
Green Whole Food. No, Green Acres. What was it called?
No. Was that Nature's Merc? That was Lawrence.
I know the one you're talking about. The one Hillside, Central and Hillside, right?
Yeah.
Nature's Way, Natural. I don't remember. But yes, he did work there. He did work there, and he got fired from there for some racist stuff.
They used to fucking lock their dumpster because we would go there and dumpster dive, and then they started locking their dumpster up because they didn't want people dumpster diving there.
Well, I mean, I've told you that.
Like, don't throw good food away. Right. If you want people
I've told the story
diving.
before. I've told the story before about when I worked for Little Caesars and we did the $5 hot and readies. And I would load up with the ones that got thrown out every night. Like we still had 5 to 10 hot and readies just sitting there. And one of my jobs was to go throw them in the dumpster. So I put them in the trunk of my car instead. And I drove them to that Pioneer Park in, Westport, where the island, as we called it, where all the homeless people were. And I'd pass out like half of them there and take the other half to my friends. And then I got in trouble for that.
Yeah.
And they threatened to fire me, and they said, if you start giving this stuff away, then we're going to get sued once somebody gets sick. And I'm like, what homeless person has a lawyer on retainer to sue Little Caesars?
Right.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, and they couldn't justify that because they don't have a receipt or any evidence that they bought it. So that's not even a good claim.
My boss was just so incensed that I would do that. It's like, you put them in the dumpster. And I'm like, why? Why do you need food to rot?
What's more offensive, my dude?
Right. And I didn't think anything of it. And when I did it, I mean, that was probably one of the more punk things I did, but at the time that wasn't my intent. It was just logical.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was just
for
using
sure. Well, we
pure
were fucking
logic.
hungry, so
I wasn't like, I'm
like
gonna be punk as fuck and take all these and give them to homeless people and then go feed my punk rock friends with the rest of them. It was just, well, logically, this food's gonna go in the trash, and I know people who are hungry and need food. So logic dictates that I would take all these pizzas and give them to the people who need them instead of throwing them away.
I can't even believe that there would be someone that would be like mad about it. Like
oh,
this,
did you?
you're mad that I took the pizzas out of the like I didn't even put them in the trash, but like just say you did.
Right.
Like I did put them in the trash and then I
Right.
took them out, and that's on me. You
Well, I
can't
think
be.
the problem he caught me because he came outside to take out some other trash and he saw me putting them in the trunk of my car, and that's how he caught me. So yeah.
Did you, Matt? Did you hear what the cops in Kansas City did to Food Not Bombs?
No.
This is probably 5-ish years ago. Food Not Bombs was serving food, and the cops came and poured bleach all over the food because they didn't have a permit.
Oh my
Mhm.
god.
Yeah, you can't give food away for free.
No, it's illegal.
I struggle with this whole thing. I do want to believe there are people in the world that are of some sort of redeemable mental state that think them becoming police officers are going to be the good cop making things better. But like,
Mhm.
I am in a band with Annie, and she is all about the all cops are bastards, and
Yeah.
it's really hard for me not to just completely say I'm on that team.
Yeah.
I'm trying not to. I'm trying to be like a positive optimist.
But well, here's the thing is that
The
Yeah.
person can be good,
sure.
but the institution is bad.
and
And
eventually, yeah, it will get even good people to do bad things out of
yeah,
pressure.
Mhm.
And there's a YouTube channel called That Dang Dad, and he's an ex-cop, and he talks about in some of his videos how shitty it was to be a cop. Like,
Yeah.
and he's like, no, this shit's real. Like, this is what they're doing. Like, this was in our training.
Yeah.
So, and he's not
40%,
the
man.
only cop. I've personally known other ex-cops
Mhm.
who are just like, yeah, man, like they train you. They're like, if you need to pick someone up for any reason, if you watch someone long enough, they're
They'll
going to
do
break a
something
law.
wrong. Mhm.
Anyone, doesn't matter. Could be my 82-year-old dad. Eventually, you watch him long enough, he's going to break. He's going to jaywalk something, and oh, we got him. And we can plug maybe a few other. Disturbing the peace. I feel like the peace was disturbed, so he's disturbing the peace. That's another charge.
The police are like
That's how they operate.
the most overfunded, lamest gang that's ever lived.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're
And,
such a
you know,
boring
they've-
gang.
Cops have only existed for about 200 years or so. Like
Mhm.
society existed for thousands of years without cops.
Yeah, tens
don't
of
need
thousands
them.
of years, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
We don't need them.
Mhm.
I think not to argue on this point of pro police by any means, but
Mhm.
the idea of like having a sheriff that you elect
Mhm.
makes complete sense to me. Like we have someone, we have to have laws. There's no way we can like really be all anarchist because most people are stupid. I would love to think that we can elevate the world to a point where that is possible.
Well,
but we're not there yet.
There are some places that have things like community defense, which
Yeah, yeah.
basically they really are there to literally serve and protect. They're not there to enact ridiculous laws to just try to bust people or to try to get revenue by catching people in speeding traps
Mhm.
or pinning something on somebody because they're like, well, hey, a crime happened. We got to pick someone up. That guy, we can pin it on him probably. And then
Well,
guess what? We're done.
When the majority of crimes are economic based.
Yeah.
And if as a society we would just give everyone their basic needs, most crime would go away.
Yeah. There'd really only be like crimes of passion and things like that. Those probably ain't going anywhere. But yeah,
But I do think an elected individual that's allowed to be the person that upholds the law that you can vote out when you think that they're blowing it is
At
a
will.
totally legit. I get that idea. I like it. But besides that specific part of law enforcement, I'm really struggling to find value in it. It's seems problematic more than positive.
Yeah.
Well, if they exist, they have to have a reason to exist. So laws are created for them to enforce. And then eventually, if all you have is hammers, everything looks like a nail. So that's kind of where you get to where we are.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes for military budgets as well, and national security and things like that. I mean, it's all interconnected.
I think it's almost, I would say it's sad, but it's like worse than that. That like I try to do deep dives into like really old weird stuff, like Frank Zappa or something, and they're talking about literally the same shit now.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Then and it's like, did we not any of us listen? Did just music, just like, was it all just fairy tales to us, and we didn't like take any of it to heart or something?
The fucking hippies in the 60s turned into the boomers that are oppressing everybody now.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, they sure as shit didn't listen to the message of their music.
Right. Well, and every generation, they feel like we moved the needle exactly as far as it needed to move and no farther. Anything else after this is wrong, and I don't like it, and it makes me afraid, and I don't like changing, and I don't understand it. I mean, look at Bill fucking Maher. He is the poster boy for that shit. Of like, no, we did the 90s, we did everything we needed to. We had Bill Clinton, who was, a Democrat, and we had, like it's the he puts on that sophisticated liberal persona, that's just all an act. And it is funny to watch. And Jerry Bear, I know you've got mixed feelings about Bill Burr, but it is funny to watch Bill Burr.
Look,
like just
he's based as fuck on economics, man.
Yeah. But, just absolutely destroy Bill Maher and just be like, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Yeah. And then when Bill Maher challenges him, he goes, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about either, you idiot. We're comedians. Right. Like, thank you. Some sanity. Like, why are we discussing this? We're not intellectuals. We're just regular people. Yeah.
My concerns with Bill Maher. Fuck Bill Maher. With Bill Burr.
There's concerns with him, yeah.
He's made some homophobic jokes in the past.
Yes.
I think he's probably made some transphobic jokes in the past.
Yeah.
I don't know where his heart is.
Right. And how long ago was that?
I don't know.
It's one of those things of being like, and I don't get me wrong, I don't really give a shit about Jimmy Kimmel, but like I heard somebody say like, oh, Jimmy Kimmel's such a feminist, but he was on The Man Show, and I'm like, that was like 30 fucking years ago. What are you talking about? Do you think he's the same person that he was 30 fucking years ago? Like, are you? Are any of us?
Yeah.
Think about who you were 30 years ago. I used to watch The Man Show, for fuck's sake.
Oh, I never did. That was never my cup of tea.
I was that guy 30 fucking years ago. Yeah. So trust me, you can change. So
I talked to Doug Stanhope when I met him at his show. About that. I asked him, I thought I was going to like be some, brainiac and like throw some deep cuts at him and stuff. And he was like, some people just go to work for a paycheck. You know that? I'm like, oh, so you're not like that's not like your whole thing, the Man Show thing. He's like, do I look like that's my whole thing? I'm smoking a cigarette with you out here in Wichita, Kansas. I'm like, oh, right. Sometimes you have to disconnect yourself and realize that even like Jimmy Kimmel sometimes is like just going to work.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We like to put people on their pedestal and say like, you were this way, but sometimes like, I'm just trying to be an actor. This is the job they gave me. Yeah. And that sucks. But also there's times where people need to be like, dealt with correctly. Like you can't be like Carlos Mencia or like some of the people that like do things that are, they need to be handled. We don't.
Yeah. You mean like stealing jokes?
That, or like, Kramer doing the whole outburst.
Yeah.
Or not Jesus. Kramer. His name's not Kramer.
Michael Richards.
Yes. Richards, sorry.
Or fucking Jerry Seinfeld.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Apparently Jerry Seinfeld has walked back a lot of the stuff that he's been saying recently. So
Oh, has he?
yeah. Yeah.
Is it because he's not welcome on campuses anymore?
I think he saw his popularity waning and realized, oh shit, it's not the 90s. I should
Oh.
probably stop saying this shit.
Hey,
Because people,
what
the
about
people who
dating
were,
a 17-year-old when you're 42?
the people who were my target demographic are leaving, and the young people don't know who the fuck I am.
Right.
So maybe, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't be a dick. Just maybe.
Seinfeld, not punk.
Not
punk at
not
all.
punk. Love the show still.
Sure. Larry
But
David.
That was Larry David.
Thanks, Larry David.
Larry David
Yeah.
might be punk.
Larry David's more punk than Seinfeld for
Yeah.
sure.
I thought that it was, and I don't know, maybe it was, but I thought that part of the show was that the thing that was funny is that he wasn't funny. I thought that was like a bit in the show.
Yeah.
Of like, oh, he's a comedian and he's doing well, but he's not funny.
Right.
Like that's part of the bit, right? It's like,
Well,
I mean,
in reality, yes.
Maybe it was. Jerry Seinfeld just didn't know that Larry David was fucking with him the whole time.
maybe I don't know.
That's my headcanon.
I like that. I like that version of it better.
Well, and I thought I was like, well, that's why they picked Jerry Seinfeld, because he's just such a mediocre. They want a show about nothing, and they pick like, of course, you're gonna pick a mediocre guy.
Right.
You're
Who
not
has no values, doesn't
Right.
stand for anything.
right. Other than just maintaining the status quo. What's the status quo?
Yeah.
George, what's the status quo? Well, let's just stick with that. Like, then there you go. There's
There you
your
go.
fucking episode.
Yeah.
George was the funniest character though in the show.
Of course.
Let's be real for a second.
Without a doubt.
How did we end up on Seinfeld?
I don't know.
It's my fault. I never even
it
really
happens
watched the show.
often. This is not
does.
the first time.
Well, it's the 32nd time we've veered wildly off topic. So
Yeah.
We're playing a show on Saturday at 5 p.m. Not
Ooh,
10
That's an early
p.m.
show. Damn.
Yeah. We're playing at
Like a matinee.
929 North Faulkner in Riverside with
Okay.
Pregnant and Connor and Nate. I guess they're like rappers or something like that. But it's like a punk show, ask a punk, no flyers kind of thing. And it starts at like 3:45, 4 and ends at like 10 or whatever.
Damn.
okay.
Nice.
So what day is that?
This Saturday.
This Saturday. Oh, okay. Well, this episode will come out at 8 a.m.
Yeah.
This Saturday.
Well,
So
Killer.
We drop our
Perfect.
episodes
So
Saturday
if
mornings.
you want to do like
um,
a punk house show kind of thing, this is one happening. Like we don't get to
Nice.
do it very often anymore because people just like are growing up and they don't want to do it in their house. But like
yeah.
another punk house show, let's do it.
Nice.
Yeah. I love a good house show.
I took my oldest
Should.
to see Austin Lucas at a house show when she was like 9.
Oh yeah, you should try to come out if you can.
I will.
Yes. Audience members, please come out. I will not be there because I live in Illinois. So
All good, all good.
Just come down.
just come on. I'll just cruise on down.
Just drive on
short
down.
12-hour drive.
I have one last question. I don't know. You mentioned the Gilman Street scene. Are you familiar with the shit split?
No,
From I last episode I said it came out in 94. It actually came out in 91, so I have to correct myself.
Ooh,
Because Johnny
that's
sure as
way
shit
off.
didn't fucking do it.
Yeah, Johnny.
Fucking Johnny.
Jesus Christ. When you
Slack
correct
ass.
him.
I don't know.
You call as soon as you
Slacker.
hear it, you call in live, and I realize that you will not hear this until 2 days after we've recorded it. But you call back in time live and
Yeah.
correct him on air.
I'm sure I will get a message. But yeah, anyway, it came out in 91. It is called the shit split, affectionately. One side is the band Filth, the other side is the band Blatz. And we ask everyone who comes on which side they prefer because there's 3 types of punk rockers, only 3. There are Blatz punks, there are Filth punks, and there are posers. So if you haven't heard it, I'm afraid you're a poser. my friend.
that's fine. That's fine with me.
Yeah.
I can be a poser. I have no problem with that.
Well, you should check it out. It's very good.
Cool.
And it is- it is
we are
peak-
both Blatz punks, but I do not want to sway you if you prefer Phil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Most people apparently that we've interviewed do prefer Filth, but they are also incorrect, but that's fine.
I think that they take themselves a little too seriously.
Maybe. Yeah.
The funny thing is Blatz, or not Blatz, sorry, Filth was started as a joke band with Jake Filth making fun of super serious punk rockers. And allegedly, then he started taking it a little too seriously himself.
That'll happen.
I believe that is discussed in the documentary Turn It Around.
Oh, damn.
I like to try to pretend that I'm like a Misfits punk, but I think I'm more of a Sam I Am punk. You know?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Probably more of a you're kind of more of an indie rocker than a punk.
Mm-hmm.
Or more of a you like the wrestling. I can tell. Like, yeah. That's the
There's a lot of wrestling fans in punk.
Yeah.
I'm not one, but there are. There's nothing wrong with wrestling. It just
Not your cup of
stopped. I just stopped paying attention after like 1988. I think
I'm a hoodie punk. Is that a thing?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, because I've just been wearing. I still wear hoodies. I've been wearing hoodies for. I mean, I tried the battle vest thing briefly, and then I was like, I'll just sew some patches on hoodies, and then I sewed patches on hoodies for a while, and then I gave up on the patches, and I just started wearing plain black hoodies.
Yeah,
and I still do.
I'm a Chumbawamba punk. Just listened to and shared The Day the Nazi Died again the other day.
Nice.
Such an amazing song.
Mm-hmm.
Such a good band. It's been a 16-hour day almost.
Oof,
So I'm gonna get the fuck out of here and go to bed. Matt, thank you for joining us.
You.
I really appreciate your time. Thanks for all you've done for the Wichita music scene. You helped to make it super, super fun in the 2000s.
I hope I'm still making it
so
fun.
many great shows.
I'm trying to make it fun.
I mean, I don't know. I'm an old man and I just stay at home. So
you don't do anything anymore.
Yeah. Have me on again. I want to come on again. This has been fun.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure.
If there's a punk rock movie you want to talk about, we review punk rock movies as well.
I watch a lot of like shitty horror rock and roll movies. I don't know if they're punk, but I definitely could go on some tangents if you want to. So let's keep it posted.
We've done plenty of like bad movies.
Just did Surf Nazis Must Die.
Nazis Must Die.
Hell yeah.
Just terrible.
So to all of our listeners, please check out our punk movie review, Surf Nazis Must Die. Yeah. We have not gotten that many downloads, or watch it on YouTube where you can actually see us and the clips if you want to look at our pretty faces.
Yeah.
So
this too.
Yeah, this one too.
Episode also. And thank our patrons.
Okay. Yeah, Mr. Power, Chris, Alec, Adam,
Chris.
And Johnny.
Yeah.
Thanks, you to guys. Our patrons.
You keep the dream alive.
You keep the lights on here at the studio.
Yeah. and Matt's house too.
Yeah.
I guess. Well, thanks, kids.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Take it easy, man.
All right. Later. Everybody check us out. www.prairiepunkpress.com. Go to our website. Find all of our socials. Find all of our links to all of this stuff. That would be just awesome. And definitely go to our Twitter link that will show you to an article where it will tell you how to delete your Twitter. If you have not done so already, please do. And if you own a Tesla, get rid of your Tesla. I am sick of seeing those little stickers on the Teslas that say, I bought this before we knew Elon was crazy. Just sell the fucking thing. Go buy a Nissan Leaf or some shit. I mean, Jesus Christ. You're way beyond being able to use that as an excuse at this point.
Elon Musk has always been a shitbag, and you know this fact by him being a billionaire.
Yeah.
There are no good billionaires.
Mm-hmm.
Elon Musk has always been terrible.
Yeah.
Fuck that guy.
Right.
Fuck your Tesla.
Yeah. He didn't start Tesla. He didn't found it. He just bought it.
He just ruined it.
Yeah. And he's still ruining it. Mm-hmm. And let's face it, they're fucking ugly anyway.
Yeah.
So no big loss. They're expensive. They're ugly. There's a lot of electric cars. If you really have a hankering for an electric car, which we don't really have the power grid to make it clean anyway, but if you really have a hankering for an electric car, There's a lot of other electric cars out there made by a lot of other companies that are not owned by fucking Elon Musk. So do some research. Get on the search engine of your choice and figure out what other electric cars are out there. And also delete your Twitter.
Bye.
All right, bye.